WCBI News at 6 starts now.
Good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining us. A Pontotoc County man is behind bars in connection with a child abuse case involving an infant. WCBI's Allie Martin has more on the investigation and how medical professionals are helping law enforcement.
The 911 call came from a house on Lost Road. A 5-month-old baby girl needed medical attention.
They had called 911 about the child being unresponsive.
Pontotoc County Sheriff Leo Mask says the infant was in the care of this man, 19-year-old Sean Michael Cooper, when the injuries occurred. The sheriff says Cooper was living with the child's family. Sheriff Mask says the parents were at work when the alleged abuse occurred.
He was keeping the child. The parents were not at home.
The child was brought to North Mississippi Medical Center in Tupelo, but transferred to Le Bonheur Children's Hospital. Sheriff Mask says doctors contacted his office with concerns about her injuries, and the investigation was underway.
The hospitals and the emergency room people are really on top of everything. I mean, when someone comes in, or a child comes in, I mean, we don't know, and the only way we can find out is if they tell us, unless we go to the scene and see something actually happening.
Cooper's bond is set at $750,000. The sheriff says the 5-month-old is on life support. In Pontotoc County, I'm Allie Martin, WCBI News.
The sheriff says additional charges could be filed if the child dies. Cooper's charge could be upgraded to murder. Verona police identify a suspect in a fatal shooting. Chief J.B. Long says 27-year-old Jarnavis Chandler is wanted for murder in connection with the shooting death of Jaskin Green last Thursday at a car wash. Green died Friday. Long says U.S. Marshals are looking for Chandler, who is considered armed and dangerous. A suspect in a Louisville homicide is out of jail on bond, while another remains on the run. 19-year-old Jordan Miller posted a $100,000 bond this morning. Miller is charged with accessory after the fact of murder. Meanwhile, law enforcement continued the search for Isaiah Riggins. Louisville Police Chief L.M. Claiborne says Riggins is believed to be the shooter. The deadly shooting happened Saturday night on Mount Moriah Circle. In an unrelated case, Louisville police say they continue to investigate a shooting that happened in the same neighborhood on March 11th. A man was injured in that shooting, but no one has been arrested. If you see a drug bust here on WCBI, usually there's money and guns involved. But what happens to that cash once a person is found guilty of the crime? Our Jory Talley talks with one agency to see how big of an impact that money is having when it comes to getting dealers off the streets.
Law enforcement's goal is to get the bad guys behind bars and drugs off the street. However, getting drugs off the streets can be harder for smaller departments, such as the Webster County Sheriff's Office.
We don't have any kind of task force. We don't have any kind of narcotics officer here. Each officer is his own narcotics officer. We rely a lot on the Mississippi Bureau of Narcotics.
Since the department lacks a drug force team, deputies rely on their instincts while responding to calls and making arrests every day.
They do a lot of narcotics arrests through just general traffic violations. They have, just sometimes general calls to a home turn into a narcotics arrest.
Drug arrests and seizures vary each month. Those numbers depend on how many deputies are working and how busy they are on other cases.
We're in a little bit of a shortage on deputies with one in the academy and things of that nature, so we don't have the free time that we could possibly have, to do things like that, traffic stops and watch houses.
Chief Deputy Jeff Mann says there have been about 10 narcotics arrests this year. If money is involved in a drug bust, it can be seized and later put into an account that deputies use to help their narcotics investigations.
We have to be able to prove that it was used, and it's specifically used to buy and purchase narcotics. Or for, those type of purposes. So, a lot of times when we do a small narcotics bust, especially misdemeanor stuff, we're not going to get any cash off of it.
What little cash that is kept once there's a conviction has to be used for a specific purpose.
It has to be strictly used for narcotics purposes. We can't use it to support the jail.
Now, Mann also says deputies get some training on drunk seizures at the academy, but often they learn on the job. In other news, a two-car crash in Lowndes County sends 2 people to the hospital this afternoon. The accident happened on Highway 45 South at Whispering Pines Road intersection. Volunteer firefighters used the jaws of life to free one person inside a Chevrolet Impala. The impact was so hard it knocked the tire off of one of those vehicles. State troopers are investigating that crash. The Tupelo Police Department and the city of Tupelo are mourning the unexpected death of a veteran detective. Detective Stephen Wade passed away after suffering a heart attack at his home in Pontotoc County this morning. Wade was known for his work with youth court, and he also led many sessions of the Citizens Police Academy. He was a 12-year veteran of the Tupelo Police Department. He also served in the U.S. Army and the National Guard. Details on funeral arrangements haven't been finalized. All right, time now to turn things over to Chief Meteorologist Keith Gibson with a first look at your forecast.
Joey, 6:06 here in Vernon. Some cloud cover out there. We saw a little bit more sunshine overall today across the region. We got temperatures into the upper 60s and low 70s right now. Some spots got into the mid 70s earlier this afternoon. So it's relatively mild, still breezy winds from the southeast, 10 to 20, still gusting to about 25 in some spots. So get out there, make the most of it. We are dry even with the clouds. In some spots we stay dry this evening. Temperatures probably only in the low 60s later tonight. Now we have the potential for 1 to 4 inches of rain over the next 2 days here. Perhaps a few strong storms too. The sun will return just in time for the start of the Easter weekend. More in just a few minutes.
All right, thanks so much, Keith. Controversy at the state capitol regarding the 2% restaurant tax for Columbus and Lowndes County after House members want to make a last-minute change. The city and county sent proposals to the legislature that stated the 2% tax would be collected from any restaurant that served food and beverages. Today, House members Jeff Smith and Gary Chisholm want to change that to collect the tax from establishments that make $325,000 annually. Representative Chisholm says that's the way it's been done since 1986. The goal, he says, is to ensure that places that make less money don't have to pay the restaurant tax.
We know you're raising the taxes on any restaurant that has gross sales less than $325,000. We're at loggerheads. The bill's going to die. The restaurant tax is going to die.
We spoke with Senator Chuck Younger on the phone, who is against the change the House is trying to make. He says that Representatives Chisholm and Smith are going against the city and county's wishes. If the tax doesn't pass, Younger said, quote, it will be blood on their hands. Younger says that's a loss of about $2 million for the CVB, and a decision has to be made by tomorrow.
New state legislature has allowed for... New state legislation has agreed to not cut funding for libraries. What's that mean for us locally? Hear that story coming up.
You're watching WCBI's News at 6 with Joey Barnes.
Welcome back, everyone. Going to the library may be considered a falling trend for young people, but rural communities still depend on libraries. For years, the money to keep the doors open has been cut, but recent legislation is working to change that trend. Our Parker King talks with the state's Library Commission today. He joins us live in the studio with more. Parker?
Look, I'll be honest, as one of those young people, it's been a while since I've ventured into a library, but I can only speak for myself. State legislation is agreeing to level the funding for our state libraries, and that has librarians breathing a sigh of relief.
But the man who designed our building...
Beth Edwards has been the Winston County librarian for 21 years. We asked if she's seen a rise or fall in the funding for local libraries. and it didn't take long for her to answer.
Oh, definitely fall. Several libraries in North Mississippi have had to close recently, and on the coast also, is my understanding, because of budget cuts from the state legislature.
Since 2015, cut after cut has been made to the state library budget. But for this fiscal year, libraries are getting a break. They've been given level funding. Edwards says it's because of the big push libraries across the state made to their local legislators.
I think that made a lot of difference. I think they do realize the importance of public libraries, and especially rural libraries.
While it's not an increase in state funding, it's not a decrease either. And libraries like the one here in Louisville are calling it a win.
It's critical to especially a rural community. I mean, we're kind of like a community center.
On top of state funding, President Donald Trump signed the omnibus spending bill into law on Friday, which gives Mississippi an additional $5.7 million for enhanced grant projects. That type of grant helped Louisville Library with their 2003 expansion.
We almost doubled our size here, but building grants for those have been disappearing. I hope to see more building grants come back to libraries, because without that we would never have been able to add that room.
What's more is there's been an uptick in health insurance premiums for librarians beginning in January of 2019, but not to worry. In addition to no cuts in the library budget, that additional cost will be covered by the state.
Thursday is going to be kind of wet around here, but I think by the afternoon we'll dry things out just enough to get us over there to Kroger to program weather radios and talk severe weather awareness. Join us there later this week. Your full forecast is next.
Your First Alert forecast with Chief Meteorologist Keith Gibson.
It is 6:17 on our Tuesday evening, 68 degrees in Columbus. Southerly breezes continue, currently 13 miles per hour, but that has warmed the region, those southerly breezes, into the upper 60s and low 70s around here. Mid 70s still out towards the Delta. So a little bit warmer today since we did break up those clouds a little bit relative to what we had yesterday, but those clouds will fill back in tonight, so we will become overcast later tonight. And notice the clouds and the showers and the storms back to the west. Those little streaks right there, those are lightning strikes across the western horizon there way out west. And there's a big spin in the atmosphere out there near Albuquerque. That will be the upper level driver of this front that will move as we go throughout the next 2 days around here. Tonight the clouds fill back in. We stay breezy, low 60s, so not as chilly. This morning we were down into the low 50s, so about 10 degrees warmer tonight. 65 at 8 o'clock on Wednesday, 75 at noon, 79 at 4, into the 70s early tomorrow evening. The better chance of rain initially back to the northwest, but we'll all have a chance for rain. Low to mid 70s north, much warmer, upper 70s to around 80 across the south. That's the way it's going to play out for our day tomorrow. Now, for the commute to work into school, I think most of us will be dry. Northwest of the Natchez Trace, a better opportunity for some rain as we get into the afternoon. We'll bubble up some additional showers and thunderstorms around the region. Tomorrow evening and tomorrow night, notice how heavy this rain could be, perhaps even a few isolated stronger storms too. A lot of the heavy rain will shift off to our east by Thursday afternoon. Now, the best threat of severe weather, if we're going to get it, would be some isolated damaging wind gusts and some very heavy rainfall. The hail threat's minimal. Tornado threat not zero, but pretty low here in the big picture. We'll, of course, watch it. There's a flood watch now for a good chunk of North Mississippi. All the areas shaded in green, but some spots don't have a flood watch officially. Let's just say anywhere between 1 to 4 inches of rain will be possible between Wednesday and the end of Thursday night across our region. So pretty wet stuff here as we go throughout the next 2 days. Here's the big picture. The front's coming our way. A pretty good batch of rain and storms along it. Slow moving will be this front initially, but then that upper level storm will kick this thing through here Thursday night, and that will usher in high pressure just in time for Friday, your Good Friday, as we start the Easter holiday weekend. So pretty unsettled in the near term. Tomorrow's rain chance 50%, 90 to 100 Thursday morning and Thursday afternoon. And then as we get into your Friday, mostly sunny, 67. Still advertising some nice weather for the weekend, highs in the low 70s. We are introducing a chance for a few showers, perhaps on Sunday and early next week if a front can come on down this far south. Still iffy on that. We'll keep you updated.
The Bulldogs are ready for basketball in the Big Apple. Robbie Donahoe gets you ready for tip-off next in sports.
WCDI Sports with Tom Ebel is brought to you by your local Ford dealers. Go further.
Go time in the Big Apple for the Bulldogs, the only men's SEC basketball team still hooping in March. Our Robbie Donahoe has more from the world's most famous arena on tonight's matchup.
Thank you, Tom, and good evening here on the concourse of the world's most famous arena, Madison Square Garden. As inside, they just tipped off, and they've been going at it. Utah and Western Kentucky underway as Rick Stansbury, the Hilltoppers, try to make it to the NIT Championship game. Will be coming up Thursday. Winner of that game will play the winner of the Mississippi State-Penn State game, which we'll talk about a little bit more here in detail coming up momentarily. But Madison Square Garden is just gorgeous. This is my first time here in New York City. This is my first time getting to experience MSG, and it sort of takes your breath away a little bit. There's a reason why they call it the world's most famous arena. There have been so many amazing memories and events that have happened here. Just actually getting to be inside it. When I was growing up, I was watching Pacers-Knicks all the time back home in Indiana. So actually getting to see this arena in person, actually be here in person, truly an honor and truly a privilege. You've got to find a way to get to New York City and experience this firsthand, because it is definitely a lot of fun. But to the matchup, Mississippi State and Penn State will tip off around 8:30 p.m. your time. You can watch the game on ESPN. One matchup to keep an eye on for Mississippi State will be how they will defend Penn State point guard Tony Carr. Now, he's not your prototypical point guard. He stands 6 feet 4 inches. Normal point guard's about 6 feet, 6 feet 1. That's what Lamar Peters is. So keep an eye on who the Bulldogs are going to match up with the 6'4" Tony Carr, who has sort of an old man's game. He likes to post you up and go one-on-one inside. So more than likely, I don't think you'll see Lamar Peters matched up with Tony Carr very much. You may see him matched up with Shep Gardner, who's more of a perimeter shooter. So that would be the matchup to watch. He wears number 10 for Penn State. So keep an eye on what Tony Carr will do for Penn State against Mississippi State. Now, the game is going to go pretty late tonight, but we're going to recap the game tomorrow morning on Sunrise, and I'll have my post-game reaction and report up on WCBI.com after the game. So we'll have much more from here in New York City coming up tonight. Hopefully we can stick around a couple more days to watch MSU play in that NIT championship game. Reporting here in New York City, Robbie Donahoe, WCBI Sports. Tom, let's toss it back down to you in Columbus.
Thank you, Robbie. A big day for former Ole Miss Rebels looking for a chance to make it to the NFL. Former Rebel standouts putting in work in front of NFL scouts for Pro Day. Marquise Haynes, Breland Speaks, Jordan Wilkins, and more worked out for 31 of the 32 NFL teams. Reporters Derek Jones there rooting on his teammates, liking what he sees. Bassfield's A.J. Moore clocked a 4.39 unofficial 40 today. Defensive end, outside linebacker split. Marquise Haynes clocked a 4.56 unofficial 40 time. We had the chance to catch up with some of the former Rebels and how they fared on their pro day.
I feel like I did pretty good, pretty solid day. Feel like I just showed what I showed this year on film.
I came out here, did everything I needed to do, the drills, the 40, everything the coaches wanted to see me do, I did them, and they was really pleased with me.
I just wanted to come out and compete and have fun with it. I know the combine, my numbers weren't where I wanted them to be. Not making any excuses. I wasn't fully healthy, so I think today made a big difference on that. But like I said, I enjoyed it, and I thought I overall did pretty well.
Same story for Mississippi State tomorrow. 16 past and present Bulldogs will work out for NFL scouts. Notable guys, Martinez Rankins, projected to be a second, third round pick. And also, Jordan Thomas is also expected at tight end to be drafted in one of the 7 rounds. Other guys like Donald Gray, Des Harris, Logan Cook, they'll be looking to put out for their own name at this point, trying to get onto big boards around the country. That'll do it for sports. We'll ask your forecast coming up next.
WCBI sports coverage of the men's NIT tournament is brought to you by OCH Regional Medical Center, Advanced Medicine, Compassionate Care, Starkville Ford Lincoln, and visit Columbus, the city that has it all.
All right, some warmer temperatures tomorrow, mid to upper 70s, but that will come with a chance of rain. Some heavy rain possible tomorrow evening, tomorrow night, and Thursday morning. Maybe some strong storms too, but we will all be affected by the heavy rain. We'll dry it out a little bit by Friday. Good Friday here. Saturday's looking good. Now, Easter Sunday, there could be a few showers around. It won't be a washout, it would appear, but still probably in the 70s.
I know that you'll be keeping a close eye on that part of the area. A couple counties under a flash flood watch.
That's right. We may see 1 to 4 inches of rain over the next 2 days, so just be aware.
We've had a lot of rain.
A lot of rain, that's right.
All right, thanks, Keith. Thanks so much for joining us, everybody. Have a good night.